Welcome and thank you for joining IMSM. We're here and we do ISO Consulting, International Standard of Operations. And I'm here today with some colleagues, Jay Gilliam, Nerio Rivera, Maria Dimitrova, and we're talking ISOs today and our experiences with ISO 27001. That is for information security. And I think it's one of the most important things that comes into play with everyone. It's like no matter what happens, everybody is on their computer, everybody needs it. And the majority of the instances with technology are all human error. It's not like, oh, it's this or that, it's human error. So one of the things that 27001 addresses is human error. So I'm going to throw it out to the Yang here. Jay, Maria, Nerio, tell us your thoughts on 27001.
Yeah, it looks like we may have lost Nerio for a second there, but yeah, thank you, Anthony and Maria. I find sometimes with discussions like these, it helps to start by saying what the standard is not. And you got into that a little bit. It is not an IT standard. In fact, there is a separate IT standard, right? 20,000. It is, as you said, the information and data security. A large chunk of that is IT, but a good chunk of it is also your physical information. The classic example I use are those giant briefcases that lawyers wheel around from courtroom to courtroom with all their their documentation in there. That's information. And this standard also addresses how to keep that information safe and secure, or your intellectual property, or the engineering designs on your desk. That's all information that can be pilfered from or lost in some way. So that's what this addresses.
Indeed, including the personal knowledge of our co-workers and interested parties. That's information and needs to be protected as well.
That's right, yeah. HR data, salary information, all of that.
All our operations, everything. The standard has 114 controls that help organizations control the whole environment, not only internal issues, not only what happens within the organization, but also its organizational environment, so all kinds of stakeholders, customers, providers, authorities, the society, and the societal need for protection with regards to data and with regards to information.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess one of the things about that is it's something that can be used in every industry and that everyone needs to be aware of. It doesn't matter if you're in the hospital, if you're a lawyer, if you're in the bank, if you have a cupcake factory. It does not matter if you're a one-person shop or if you're have hundreds of people working for you. And one of the things I was saying earlier is that I've gone to different places, and when I've gone to different places, different companies, and there's been a company with like 12 people. And when I went to see this company, they do barcodes for Microsoft. They had 13 people, and they also work with their own platforms. So they wanted to be able to work in different ways. They do Agile and Scrum and different things like that, but they wanted to be able to use like different platforms and work with third parties and have this like a mobile operation and to have information security. And so that's the idea, is that if you have 13 people, I've gone to hospitals, and at a hospital, they had 700 people in their IT. Just in their IT alone, they had 700 people. And one of the things about like talking to some company like that is that they did not have like an SOP. They did not have like, this is how we do this and this is how we do that. It just kind of grows and spun out of control. And the idea is that this puts all the controls in place. Everything is written down. If Bob leaves and Harry comes and works for you, Harry will know exactly what to do. If there's different ways of doing things, it can always be addressed. It can always be updated. So the idea is that no matter what kind of company it is, one-person company or thousands, you need to have like these kind of controls in place. Because the biggest thing, and as I think we're saying here, is human error. and we have to have people that know what's happening, and we have to have everybody buy into the system.
Absolutely, right. Anthony, you're right. Human errors are a major issue, and the standards helps us protect not only the confidentiality, that's the main idea people have about ISO 27001, but also the two aspects that not that often considered, which are integrity and availability of information.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anthony, you brought up a point about everything documented and people know what to do because of that. And, I was reading a study from a Verizon data breach that said 90% of the errors were human cause, exactly. Right? 90%. Right. If I put a poll up there and said, pick, and people would look at 9 and go, well, that's just the ridiculous option, right? And that's, again, what this standard, this is what all these ISO standards do, is it helps instill a culture of commitment versus compliance, right? Because we've all worked in these companies where they have good IT security, right? And again, it's not just about IT, but let's just focus on that for a second. And you kind of go, well, the IT guys got that. I don't have to worry about it because I don't know all that much about computers, but we have a whole IT department. They're right over there. I can call them anytime I want. So I don't have to worry about data security because my IT department's got it. And that's just not the case. It's just not true. They do their job well, but it's every person's responsibility to protect that, to not, inadvertently give up their password, get phished, all those things. And that's what this standard does, is it not only helps teach the entire organization, but it gives everyone in the organization a sense of purpose, and it instills that culture of commitment to data security.
Yeah. Absolutely. By the way, many people think that information security, as you say, Jay, is a technical issue and needs a technical solution. And you're absolutely right. It's a management issue and needs a management solution.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And guys, actually, when you look at the research behind this, the numbers can be pretty scary. That it's estimated that globally the impact on this will be about it's going to cost the world about $6 trillion in 2021, increasing 15% each year over time. So, everyone is affected by this, and kind of just to kind of piggyback on what you mentioned, Anthony, there's a misconception that hey, I'm just a small guy, we're 10 people here, they're really going after the enterprise corporations a lot. It's just simply not true. That your data is valuable, your intellectual property is valuable, and it's valuable to scammers and people who have malicious intent. So yeah, you're totally right. If you don't have a process in place to address the Achilles heel of a lot of companies, which is actually your people, your employees, your contractors, having that process in place is what's going to help you mitigate that risk and reduce that exposure to a breach. So yeah.
So Nerio, $6 trillion, that's a lot. How is that money being lost?
Well, like you discussed, over 90% or so is actually from, it's because of people, it's not related to their technology security, right? So it's lost through things like phishing, through scamming, malware, bad malware that's installed on your computer to, phish out your passwords and things like that, they're oh, go ahead.
Like a ransomware too, like.
Absolutely.
You shut down. Think about a 10, 15 person company. You're doing 5-10 mil a year. You're humming along great, and then someone shuts down your whole operation, and you might be supplying to some big players out there, right?
Absolutely.
You might be to aerospace companies or automotive companies or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're done and you're out. You're gone. You can't afford the $100,000 ransom, and then General Motors says we need it now or you're done. And then
to kind of kick you when you're down, you're now a liability to people doing business with you, right? So you're gonna have that blot on your record, and that's something that it's bad overall. It's bad for insurance. It's bad for your business. So
or even worse, like someone goes into you, and you're right, you're too small to care about, but they use you to get to the other one. Right. So I have a client that told me they were asking about 27001. I won't say who they are, but their customer is Volkswagen in the US, right? So they're doing some design stuff. And without 27001, they had to send every piece of correspondence between them and Volkswagen had to go through a third-party entity that was 27001 certified. So can you imagine not only the extra cost in just communicating, but also the extra time that takes to have to go through a third party to make sure that everything's safe?
Right.
By the
One
way,
of the things that Jay mentioned was the ransomware. And we've seen the whole thing with the ransom. And one of the things, it's like when you have like some large corporation and some multinational corporation, it's hard to ransom those people. When you have small and medium-sized companies, it's easy to ransom those people, and they have to pay. And I've seen this, like Nerio was saying, over the past couple years, people come to us and they want ISO 27001. But they've already come to us after the horse has left the barn. You have to get that before. You have to foresee that.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't think like, oh, this could never happen to me, because all the things that can never happen, the 7 plagues or whatever you want to call it. We've had pandemics. We've had the financial crisis. We've had the World Trade Center. All the things that you think can never happen are happening. So don't act like when the next crisis comes up, we can't plan for it. And one of the things to plan for it is certainly having like your information security process in place and having everybody buy into it. So it's 27001. Everybody knows. We know that it's human error. We know that you can do everything you want, and that the computer guys, they're all sitting down there and they're all geniuses and they're all gifted in that, but it's human error. And that's where having a plan in place comes, and having a plan and everyone that buys into it.
Interestingly enough, I was rereading some reports from 2019 regarding the amount predicted to be lost in cybersecurity breaches, and the prediction for 2020 was to be 2 trillion, not 6. So imagine the impact. It's been 3 times the prediction. It's huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, and these numbers. I mean, when you relate it to other things, I mean, I think the prediction was by 2025 we're looking at 10.5 trillion. I mean, when you do the math, that would be the 3rd largest economy in the world. So
And does that include fines also? Because let's say no one ransomwares your little medical practice, but the U.S. government will fine you for data breaches, for violations of HIPAA, right?
Sure.
So it's just, there's coming and going. There's severe consequences for not having a system like this in place.
Indeed, it includes direct losses as well as indirect losses.
Okay.
Yeah, impact on the society, all that elements are considered within those models.
Okay. Intellectual property loss. I mean, you could have the greatest idea in the world, but if you lose a thumb drive at Starbucks and someone picks it up, it's someone else's idea now.
For instance, it is calculated that it is within the calculation, the non-financial impact. For instance, it is suspected that Russia attacked the Spanish Public Employment Service a month ago, basically because the Spanish government kind of protested against Su-33 flying over the territory, Russian ones, and then the Spanish authorities were attacked. Officially, it is a suspicion. Not officially, people are quite concerned about the coincidence between both incidents. So the service remained absolutely closed for 4 days. It is still not. It hasn't still recovered 5 weeks on. Thousands of people have been impacted.
Exactly.
No
Yeah.
one claimed ransom though.
And on top of everything, you have to worry, on about a foreign nation possibly being a
Yeah.
threat or anything else. There are just so
Mhm.
many ways around it. That's why even the government, I mean, there are quotes of them saying, listen, every organization, but public, private, has been hacked or will be hacked. I mean, the U.S. government is very well aware of this. That's why they're putting procedures in place. They're doing everything they can because it's just getting worse in our virtual world now. So yeah, absolutely.
So Nerio, you were about to start working on a specific webinar on that issue. How are things going?
So far, so good. I mean, we are putting it together now, that doing the research on it, and it's going to be great. I mean, we're looking forward to it. It should be. We're looking at a date next month, soon to come. But I'm going to be with I'll host a webinar with two partners of mine, coming from accounting and IT cloud security consulting. So it should be great. I mean, we're going to talk about real life situations and just how we can address them through specifically implementing a security management system, how that helps reduce your exposure. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
So that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
definitely.
Can't wait.
Absolutely.
Definitely
Thank you.
amazing. And I think one of the things about this, and I can't harp on this point enough, is that every time we're talking about information security, and when I've traveled to different companies, I've gone to like a PR firm or a law firm, different thing, and they have like maybe 160 people or 200 people, or a photograph studio, and they have like 100 people. And then they generally have like maybe somewhere between 1 and 3 people in charge of their IT. And they think that they're secure because of that. And the idea behind ISO 27001 is that you have a system in place. And I think, as Nero was saying, it's not just a system of like one person, it's not just a system of the IT department, but it's a system of the company. And when everybody buys into it and everybody knows exactly like how each part of the company works, whether it's different levels of security or whether it's how third parties interact. When I was talking about the people that did the barcodes and that, they're using like outside people, and people can get into your computers. What permissions do they have? But ISO 27001 takes care of that. It takes care of like all the different levels of security, who has access to what, how it is accessed. It not only looks at like the, I think Jay was saying, like the stuff stored on your computers, but it also looks like the files and stuff stored in your office. So this is how like everything interacts with everything. You can't be like an organism and say like, oh, the heart works for the whole body. And you have to look at this at a holistic approach, that when you're looking at it in a holistic approach, we get an opportunity to see how each thing is connected, whether it's like the distributor or whether it's the purchase, from the beginning to the end, how everything goes, and how everything goes through our system and everything goes through our computers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The standard also helps us give a proportionate response to threats and risks. So, as you can imagine, a company with 15 people doesn't need to fly helicopters above their roofs. The idea is to give a really proportionate response to any potential situation there.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, we used to
guys.
safety coaching. We call it the meteor response. What's the likelihood of falling off a scaffolding versus the likelihood of a meteor hitting you? And spend more time worrying about the scaffolding than the meteor.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd say that's rational.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, guys. Shall we wrap it up and ask marketing to take over?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you guys so
very
much.
much. Thank you.
Have a great